Now TV, as I promised, I'll be delivering a lot of mini apps for you to up your game in the Flutter app development. So today what we'll be looking at is a very simple app at which but will be our main focus will be like how to actually use plugins in your mini applications. Yeah, so let's get started. This project will be about developing a simple what analog clock using a plugin. Good. So let's get started. I'm gonna create my project with when using Mac. I'm using Mac, so I'll use Command P. When using Windows, you can also use Control P to help you create a project with ease. Okay. So using your Visual Studio. So I step into my where I keep my source code here. So I'm on my desktop. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna keep my files here, so I select this. My project name will be, let me call it the analog. Yeah, let me call it clock. Yeah, clock is easy, so I call it the clock plugin. Okay, yeah, so that it will be very easy for you to actually memorize and understand what we're doing here. So a simple clock using what a Flutter plugin. Okay, so why do we actually get plugins for? We get plugins from uh, poops.dev. Yeah, poops pud.dev, and then you can see a lot of already made Flutter plugins for uh, to actually help you fasten your development time. Yeah, there's a lot of plugins being approved by Flutter team that you can actually use in your project to make your life very simple. Okay, so just to begin with this is actually going to help us to use that and how to implement that in a mini project. We'll be adding a background to our project, so let me create image folder. So let me call it image. Yeah, this is image folder. Yeah, so in the image folder we're gonna use this background. Yeah, I think it's pretty much cool, but let me rename this so that it will be easy to identify. So I got this background. Okay, good. And I'll drag and drop this in our image folder. Okay, so we have this. This is gonna be a very beautiful background for our app. And let's go first into our postspec.yaml file. Yeah, and what we're gonna do is to add our plugin. Okay, so here we're gonna add a plugin here, and this what I'm gonna do is to simply add the plugin to our what our postspec.yaml. Okay, so let me add this to our project. So okay, now let me use the code inside, or I can also use a package assist, but maybe it might be a bit confusing for you. So let me do that inside the code so that you get it. So to do this, it's simply a dependency we have to add. So you scroll down, you see this dependency here, and then we have Flutter SDK and Flutter. Yes, just beneath this, okay, it should align up with the Flutter here. So uh, I use my cursor, and then I type what? I just hit the enter, and then I go with what? Analog. Since I said we're gonna use a plugin, the name of the plugin is analog. If you want to know more about the plugin, you just go to poops.dev. Then you can find this plugin there. Then we go clock. So analog what? Clock. Then I have to simply do what? But to this one, we need to move it here. So it needs to actually align with the Flutter. So I use the back button or the delete button on the Mac. Yes, so this is aligning up with the Flutter. and yeah, I go this way. So what I'll do here is to save the plugin I just added. Okay, so it's actually getting what's the plugin in our project. So that is it. Then let's now step into the main.dat. Yes, main.dat. Yeah, always I want to start from scratch, so I always try to delete whatever is in here so that you can actually follow what I do on the screen. Okay, so let me quickly clear this so that we begin from scratch. Okay, good. So we only have one file, that is the main.dat, and we basically gonna do everything in this file. Okay, we have image here and then the background. So let me start by first I have to also import the package that I have used in the poopspec.yaml, and also import our material.dat since we want the UI to take the material properties. Okay, so let me start with the import, and here I'm gonna import a package. Okay, so package, yeah, package. Then I'll have Flutter Flutter right in front of this. Then I go the slash. So Flutter, then I'll pick material.dat. Okay, so material.dat is here. Then the second thing I have to import is I have to import the second package, that is the plugin we're actually using. So let me type package, and then we have what the plugin, since we have already included in our postback.yaml file. We're gonna see the analog slash what uh, 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 this. So we're gonna use this analog slash what analog clock.dat. Okay, so I go straight into it, then we begin. Okay, so here let's start with a void, that is our champion function. So our void will be here, and then as we normally do the run app, we will use the fat arrow here. So void and then main, don't forget to type your main here, and then here I want us to use the fat arrow, or we can decide to leave it and then just use the normal function. But uh, today let's use the fat arrow. Yeah, most of the applications I use the normal what the normal function arrow. Yeah, today I feel we should implement with the fat arrow. Okay, so fat arrow, this is how it is, simply by what calling equal to and then greater than sign, but make sure it should come right after the open and close round brackets, just like this. And then you now add your run up here. Very simple. Run up. Good. And for the run up, we're gonna have my app in here. So my app in here. Okay, then open and close bracket, simple. Then oh no, then we terminate this. Okay, perfect. So this one I'm using the fat arrow to call the run up here. Okay, so if you don't understand what is happening here, I recommend you to watch our dat and Flutter series in our previous what tutorials, and that will greatly help you to understand the basics of what we are doing here. So to start with this project, we're gonna use a stateful widget. Okay, stateful widget, because the state is gonna change as in when the time clock is actually moving on the screen. Okay, good. So to use a stateful widget, we can use the shortcut or stateful widget here. Okay, and then it's gonna create the whole chunk of code for me. So we are extending from the stateful widget from my what my app. Okay, so my app this way. Make sure the app starts with capital. Okay, so we have the extend. So this is actually the whole structure for the stateful widget. We have the create state here, and then we have our external state widget and all that. Yeah, I explained this explicitly in other video tutorials which I have for the beginners in the Flutter tutorial, so you can actually also check those videos. Okay, good. So what we're gonna start here is we're actually gonna work here this side. Yeah, the last class with my app state. My app state extends what the state my app here. So after the the widget with the build method or the build here, we're gonna actually run or return all our main code here, but we can use the return. But before we do that, let me actually use the material that. So I'm gonna wrap it around all this. Okay, so today is actually what our we're gonna actually use most of our code functions using the fat arrow. Okay, so as you can see, this is also a function, but today I want us to actually use fat arrows. Yes, always we've been using the curly bracket. So just to also understand that we can also use this in our project. Okay, so here, like I said, we're gonna use material app. Okay, so all our project will be wrapped around our material app. So I go use material app just like this, and then I open this one wide. Okay, so we have the material app, and our project it's gonna wrap around, or we wrap everything inside our material app. Okay, so in our material app, we are first gonna start using our scaffold widget. So we start with the home, and then we have our our kin widget called what, the scaffold. Okay, so with the scaffold, we also gonna have our app bar inside the scaffold. Okay, so we will simply start with app bar. Okay, and the app bar will take this app bar. In the app bar, we're gonna actually have our app bar details, and that will be we're gonna have the color of the app bar, and let's say we're gonna use a background for this app bar. This background will have a color property, so we'll call colors dot, and here we can choose whatever color we actually want to showcase on our app. So I would say I normally like using the blue, and then the gray and the purple and all that. So but let's use blue for this. Maybe we'll change it along the line, but let's stick to the blue now. Then let's see, with the background, we're gonna have with the app title. After our background, let's add the title. Okay, so title, and this title is actually what we display in the app bar. Okay, so title, and title always take the text widget, the text widget component here. So we will have our text in a string format. So we'll call this what, the analog what, analog clock app. Yes, very simple. Analog clock app. Yeah, okay. Simple like this. Okay, so this is the analog clock app we're gonna start with. Okay, so let's see, what should we do again after this? Should we run this to see? Okay, since I have not run this yet, it might take some time, so I'm gonna run it as I still develop. Okay, So let me go. I run this. But as I'm running, what I'm going to do is to look at adding a background to it. That is the image I said earlier on we're gonna add. Good. So I'll add this after our what? Our app title. Let me add the body here. Okay, and for this body we're gonna have what? The background here. So I have body here first, and this body will actually have what? Let's start with our background first. Okay, and for our background, I would say we're gonna put this actually inside a container. Inside a container. So I'll call the container here first. Container, and this container will actually have a round bracket, and this container will actually wrap around whatever we're gonna actually write on the app there. You get it? So let me actually have this round bracket so that we wrap everything inside this container. But before that, I like the app to have this background. That's this beautiful background before we actually add the rest of the code. Okay, so for me to add the background, I want to use the image. So to use the image, I'll first use the decoration widget, and this decoration widget actually takes the box decoration. Okay, and the box decoration will also have what we call the the image decoration inside. But to do that, we need to first call the image property like this. Then we can now add the what? The decoration image for after this. Okay, so now we can now call the image inside this one. Okay, so like this, now we have the image, the creation image. And for the decoration image, we're also going to have the round bracket, which will take image and then asset what? Asset image, and then now we can call the URL of the image, just like this. Okay, then we'll have the URL in here. So I'm gonna call this image here. So to call that, oh, I need to enable this in the postspec.yaml, but let me add it and then I'll enable this. So I call this image slash what? Background. But I need to enable this inside the postspec.yaml. So we're gonna do that in a second. So like this. Perfect. Okay. So we have this. And let's now step into the postback and then activate our asset, this one. Just uncomment this and make sure the assets fall in line with the Flutter, and this should move just 2 steps from the asset. 1 2. Perfect. Then I click Command S to save. Then we move back to our main. I think it's telling us some errors, but not really any serious error. Okay, yeah. Okay, we are not using the clock. Okay, I got it. The clock package here. Okay, good. So now we have the image. This image we need to actually decorate this image well. I mean, how it should display for us to see on the screen. We need to actually use the fit. And this fit will actually help us with the media query very well, because it's gonna help us position it in a form of what phone screen size. So we need to actually use this. Then we use the dot cover or fix. Let's use the fix dot cover. Yeah, so that it will cover the whole interface. Yeah, but um, box decoration, good. So I have the box decoration here. I have the fit. Okay, now I'm gonna add the width and height of this. Okay, so that it will help it align very well. So this width will actually be a double what? A double infinity, so that it's gonna actually enlarge itself properly in any given, whether it's a tablet, whether it's whatsoever, it's gonna actually enlarge itself very well. Then we have the height as well. So the height also will take the same double infinity, and then we have the dot what infinity. Good, perfect. So we are done with our background image. Okay. mm, let's see this. Okay, then I have this here. Okay, perfect. Now let's go to okay, we'll be going to the next one, and the next one will actually be the implementation of we using the clock. Okay, but first I've just tried to, yeah, I've just tried to uncomment that, and then checking to see what it will display on the screen. So okay, we have one error here. So this should actually be, let me check the quick fix. I think we should bring a constant in front of this. Yeah, so we have a constant here. Yeah, and not really necessarily, but we just want to make sure the error is off this, and then we run this. But now we're gonna actually use the clock plugin in this application. Yeah, so as we wait for it to actually run, let's begin with what? With the clock plugin. But with this one, we will actually start and wrap everything inside a child after our box decoration. So this is what our box decoration. So I leave the space here, and here we actually gonna wrap the whole, the clock logic inside a child. Yeah, and this child will be actually also wrapped around a center widget, so that it will be in the middle of the application. So I'm gonna actually use the center widget here by simply calling center widget. Okay, so everything we'll do here will be inside our what? Our center widget. Okay, perfect. So let me quickly uncomment this, since we're gonna use this. So what is it here? Not really necessarily. Let me undo all this. Let me undo all our constants I added. You don't really need to add the constant, but sometimes it's required. Yeah, since it will not be changing in the code at any point in time. So let's add let's add our clock. After that, we debug and then we run the application. Okay, so since we're gonna have everything in the center, so we leave everything inside this center with it. Okay, so we want to start with the analog clock. We have the center widget here, center. Okay, inside our center, let's append the rest of the code to a child, and this child will begin with the actual words, actual plugin implementation using the analog. So I start with analog. Here we have imported the plugin so we can use its properties. So with the analog, we're gonna first also decorate this. Let me take off this first. We're gonna also decorate the how the analog will actually look like on our app. So inside the analog, I'm gonna first start with the decoration of how the analog will look. So this is just only writing a styling for it. So then it will be inside the box decoration, and this inside the box decoration we're gonna have the border of the watch of the clock, and let me step down one and then this one to one. Okay, so for the border we're gonna have border around everything, so this will be border dot all. Okay, border dot all means around the clock, and then we need to have the width of the what of the border, and let's say we're gonna use 3.0 for the width. We need to have the color of the border, so we're gonna use the color property, and this will be colors dot black. We want to keep the borders what black, so colors, then you bring the dot what, then we're gonna have all our colors here, then we use the black. Okay, perfect. So we have the colors dot black. Then after that we'll also look at for the border, and also inside the border, what color are we going to use? Let's also use black inside. So inside our border itself, we also need to define the color for it, but we're going to simply use the same black for the internal color as well. Okay, colors, let me use colors dot black. Okay, so this one, everything will be black. Then next will be our shape. The shape should be what? So for the shape, we're gonna leave it in a circular form, since a clock is actually in a circular form. So we're gonna leave the box shape to be circle. Okay, so box shape, and this shape will be what? Circle. So box shape, no, shape, box shape dot what, dot circle, this one. Then we close this. Next, let's have how wide the clock is gonna be, like the circle. How wide should we actually display this in our app? So that one will actually be the width of the main clock, and we will say 200. Yeah, let's say 200. The width should be 200. We can increase this, and it doesn't really matter how we want to display it. It all depends on us. And do we actually want the clock to be moving? Should it be moving, or should it be static? So we call what we call is live. Is live means the clock will actually work in the app, and it will actually pick the timing from our PC or from our application or from our mobile phone timing. So first, we need to define the hour hand and the minute hand. If you know this, this is actually the clock hands that is going to move on the screen. So let's first call the hour hand, right? The hour hand. And for the hour hand, we actually have to append a color to it. So what color are we going to give to the hour hand? Then that will be white, black, whatever color you want to give it to it. But here, let's choose white for this demo sick, but you can play around the colors as well. So we're going to use white for this. And let's look at the minute hand. Okay, so we look at the minute hand, and then we're gonna say the color for the minute hand will also be the same. So we're gonna use the same word, white, for this. Okay, so we have the minute hand. Second, let's look at show second hand. Do we want to really show the second hand to be displaying on the clock? Yes, we say yes. So we're gonna go show what? Show second hand, and this should be set to what? To true for it to actually work. Okay, so we set this one to true. Okay, next is we'll also look at our text scale factor. Yeah, looking at how it actually gonna display the text, and this is the text scale factor, and then how thick it's gonna be. So we leave it at 1.5, and then we're gonna also show the text, how it moves. How thick should it go, or it should not move? We want it to go because we want to be a live watch, a live working clock. Okay, so we say show text, and this show text should be set to true. And secondly, what are we gonna look at? We're gonna look at whether it should be a digital clock color and all that. So we say our digital clock should actually clock color should actually be white as well. Okay, so the white we use up there, it's gonna be the same. So uh, the guitar clock color will also be white. Then we'll look at the daytime. Which format of daytime do you want to use on the guitar clock? So the daytime will probably pick this format. Let's pick this format of daytime. Let's look at the year. Yes, the one starting. We're going to start this format for our clock, the year 2021. And how are we going to display this? So we're going to look at the second, minute, and all that. So let's see this. So what says the time? 4:22. Okay, so we're gonna have the date and then the timing itself, and we can simply arrange this in this order. For example, I say the year. Okay, this is 26/9. Okay, so the time is 4:23. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, another second. Perfect. Okay, good. So we save this. This is the format of our timing. Yeah, that is the date and time, how we want our clock to display the date and time format. Okay, so mm, now we have actually used our, oh, this is our analog clock. Okay, it was also imported, so I take that one off and then I save this. Let's look at this, our closing tags, to correct everything here. We have mm, we have one. Okay, we have the container here. No, let me save this to, so mm, let's check this before. Let me check this very well. So we have this here, we have this here, that here. So scaffold, material, we have the center, and then container, we have the center, and then we have mm, yeah, I'm trying to check to see there all our center, container. Okay, let me check this way. We have hmm? This is analog. Okay, so analog. Okay, center. What is this? Okay, container is here. Container. Is this actually our scaffold? Okay, after scaffold, then what is this? Material. Okay. Oh, material. Then what is this? Let's see. Okay, so we need to clear one of this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we got everything right here for our look at our version. Our version for the clock. Yeah, I actually left that one out, so we should make sure we have the version. The current version is actually what 0.04. Yeah, so where did I check the version? And you need to go to the site. I actually what wrote on I wrote here the put.dev, then you search for analog slash, not slash but underscore clock, and then you're gonna see the latest version. Okay, so you need to make sure you add the version here, or not here, here rather. Okay, so analog, then you make sure it actually line up with the Flutter, then you save the project. After that, then you try to run the project. So you run the project, then you see how it's gonna display on the screen. Okay, so let's wait for a while, and then to run this application, since it's a non safety plugin, so we need to run the application with the run on safety to actually display this application with what, with the plugin taking effect in our application, so that it will actually show the properties from the plugin. Good. So since you can see the plugin use version is what deprecated, it is what deprecated, so we have to actually use, and this is a non what plugin, so I actually run it using the what the non what safety, so that it will actually implement or actually display its functionalities right in the app. Okay, good. So this is actually building and installing the app on the what on the screen. Boom. So it's gonna display that on the screen. Okay. So since we have spent some time on this, we're gonna end the video here. And if you have any question, kindly leave it below, and then I'm gonna get back to you. So as you can see, time clock, it's moving on the screen. Boom. Then we are out. See you in the next video, and I say peace.